Hello everyone, welcome to a special episode of the Yarn Curator podcast. My name is Naomi and welcome to my channel where I like to talk about knitting and the fiber arts in general. It's primarily a knitting podcast, but sometimes there's spinning and other crafty related content that I like to talk about. And soon there will be a cooking episode up here on the channel. It's uploading right now. If you're a new viewer, welcome. If you're a returning viewer, welcome back. I'm so glad to have all y'all here. If you'd like to follow me on social media, I am the Yarn Curator on Instagram, as well as House of Cardigans on Ravelry. So today's video is going to be a little bit different from what I usually post, which is kind of a 30 to 45 minute long show and tell episode. So today I would like to talk about my most recent finished object. It is the Basic Raglan, which is a pattern by Joji Locatelli. It is a paid for pattern. It costs $6.50 and it's pretty well sized. It goes from a 29.5 inch bust up to a 58-inch bust. I myself am a 42-inch bust. I wear about a size large, extra large, in women's clothing, depending on who makes it. So I knit mine for the size large, which fits about a 42-inch bust. So not a lot of ease built in, although I do want to reblock this, which I'll get to that in a second, which should cause some extra ease to work into the pattern there. For this, I used Madeline Tosh DK yarn. It's their DK twist base in the Twin Peaks colorway. I know sweater knitting, especially when you start to get into the larger sizes, can be a little bit cost prohibitive. So for this yarn, I actually purchased it on sale from Jimmy Bean's Wool. I've talked about this in the past on their Wool Watcher portion of their website. So I think I got the yarn at 25 or 30% off. So it's always great to save a few pennies. So this pattern took roughly 5 skeins of yarn. I used 457 grams. So I have one left over here. So I think I'm going to put this in my giveaway pile for a future giveaway here on the podcast. And yeah, in terms of clarity of how the pattern is written, I think it's excellent. Joji writes great patterns. This is my second or third pattern now by Joji Locatelli, the designer, and I think she writes really clear, well-written instructions. They're very, very much beginner friendly. In terms of skill level needed to complete this project, I wrote kitten down in my notes, like it's pretty docile, pretty tame. So if you're looking to tackle your first sweater, I would definitely recommend this pattern. In terms of techniques that are needed in order to complete it, it's knitting, purling, knitting in the round, slip, slip, knits, knit 2 togethers, make 1 left, make 1 right, and binding off. So if you know how to do those things, you can make this sweater. If you don't know how to do some of the increases or decreases, there's a lot of great tutorials out there on YouTube that can aid you in completing this project. So in terms of, modifications that I did to my sweater, not too many. For this, I used a lace bind off, which is a nice elastic bind off. As I said, it doesn't flare quite as much as the surprisingly stretchy bind off, and I find it gives a nice amount of room to where it doesn't feel like your cuffs are too tight around your wrist. For the lace bind off, you essentially bind off 2 stitches and then knit them together through the back loop or through the front loop, depending on if you're knitting or purling in pattern, and I quite like it. In terms of yarn management, I did alternate skeins while working on this project. So I did a combination of helical knitting and then another technique that my aunt told me about, which is basically you switch your skeins at the start and end of the row, but when you end, you bring your yarn forward and backwards and you alternate them in that fashion, and it kind of carries the yarn up as you work. Yeah, overall, I'm really pleased with this. I do have, I blocked it the other day and I set it out because I wanted to wear it to work the next day. And the next morning it was still a little damp, but it fit perfect. And so I was like, all right, I'll throw it in the dryer for like 2 minutes, that should, you know, dry it up, and it was a little bit baggy, so it should firm things back up a little bit. I then proceeded to finish getting ready for work. Totally forgot I had thrown it in the dryer, and so it is back to about the same amount of ease, which is no ease, as when I bound it off. So whoops, I just need to reblock it and lay it flat to dry and just let it dry on its own, because, you know, we spend hours and hours and hours completing a pattern. Should be patient enough to wait the extra 24 hours needed for it to dry. You know, in terms of the only snafus I really encountered, like I said, was blocking, and then on the sleeves, through no fault of the pattern, I just wasn't paying attention. You do tapered sleeves on this pattern, and so after about 4 inches or so of knitting your sleeve, you start to work a series of decreases down the sleeve. I totally forgot about that while reading the pattern, so I actually worked the sleeves to about, I don't know, an inch or two past my elbow, and then I started to do a series of rapid decreases, and I think I worked about 7 or 8 of those. And then when I got to where I wanted my cuff to start, I looked at the pattern and I think I had like 60 stitches, and I needed to get down to 44 stitches. So I just evenly spaced out, I don't know, the 14 or so decreases that I needed to get down to the correct cuff size. So it worked out, and I actually really like the way they fit. It kind of fits like a hoodie, you know, really oversized, but then instead of getting that balloon effect, it does taper ever so gently along the sleeve there. So I know there's a lot of people out there who also want to make the no frills cardigan, which is a pattern by Petite Knits. It's really taken off in popularity lately. And that pattern is a fingering weight yarn held with a mohair to get a DK weight. Unfortunately, that pattern, one of its critiques is that it's not the most size inclusive pattern out there, and it is essentially a basic raglan. So if you were wanting to look for a more size inclusive option with a similar look, I would definitely recommend this pattern as a alternative, you know, if you don't want to worry or think about grading. So that is my review of the Basic Raglan Pullover by Joji Locatelli, and please let me know if you plan on casting one on, your thoughts on the pattern, or if you've made it, your thoughts as well. So thank you so much for tuning in, you guys. I hope you enjoyed today's little mini finished object episode, and feel free to leave any comments down below. If you liked today, hit that thumbs up button and subscribe. And until next time, I hope you enjoy your making. Talk to you later. Bye. My hair tie just popped. I was like, what is that? Did something run into me? There's supposed to be a pack of like parakeets or something in the area.